Okay, and then the final one I've got here is called casein protein. Casein protein, in terms of its structure, its molecular structure, is very similar. It falls between milk protein and whey concentrate. Casein is basically a very slow digesting protein source. So how it's marketed, correctly so, is that you take casein protein after you've trained, usually in the evening before you go to bed. There's a lot of studies that suggest, depending on the individual, it can take between 3 and 7 hours to fully digest, casein protein. So the thought process behind it is that when you go to sleep, your body is slowly but surely digesting the casein protein powder. So I used to take it personally. I don't think it's worth, because when you have casein, it almost, to me, feels like I've just had a pint of milk. It sits on my stomach. It's not digested. Sorry, it's not digested as efficiently as the others. So obviously we've got these different kinds of proteins. So obviously casein really should be up here, but in the interest of kind of simplicity and kind of keeping it simple for you guys, I just wanted to put them in order. So I've done a little graph here. So obviously we have quality going from poor to excellent, and then we've got obviously cost being from very little to very high. Okay, so we've got a graph, very simple graph. Obviously, as the quality increases, so does the cost, like anything. Okay, when it comes to kit, like Dan the boss says, always invest in good kit. It's better to buy once at a high price and have it last forever than it is to kind of buy cheap and buy twice, so to speak. And it's the same with what you put in your body, especially supplements, especially protein powders. So obviously we've got milk protein is relatively low quality in terms of what else is available. You're going to get a low cost for it. Like I said, you can buy, you could probably buy milk in terms of the supplement industry, not many brands sell strictly milk protein, but what they'll do is they'll put it in a blend with other ones. So that's the most common thing to do. If you were going to buy pure milk protein powder, you'd probably pay 15-20 quid for maybe between 1 and 2 kilos, which is very cheap. But obviously you've got to bear in mind, as we just mentioned, it's going to have a lot of sugar in it, a lot of lactose, and it's going to have high in fat. It's not going to digest very easy. Obviously then concentrate, the cost goes up, so does the quality. Obviously with isolate too. Isolate, I would say, in my opinion, is probably the best bang for your buck. There are quite a lot of brands out there. The brand that I tend to opt for with my protein powder, I use a brand called Dimetize. They have a product called ISO 100, which is won multiple awards year after year for being the best isolate on the market. I think I pay about 45 quid for a 2 kilo tub, and that's got about 70 scoops in it. So that's pretty good value for money. The taste is insanely good. It mixes well in a shaker cup. You don't need a blender. It's got quite a thick consistency because obviously over the years they've tried and tested methods to make these protein powders more palatable. And obviously with isolate, there's very little to no sugar or fat in it, so it's going to be rapidly absorbed, especially after your training. Then obviously we've got the whey hydrolysis, which is the most expensive one. When I'm doing a lot of weight training, obviously, which hasn't been for a while because of lockdown, but when I'm kind of on a phase when I'm trying to grow a lot of muscle and strength, I opt for a product called Hydro Rosanne by a brand called Yamamoto Nutrition, super high quality brand out of Italy. And their product Hydro Rosanne, I literally buy, it's a small tub. I think it's maybe a 750 gram tub. I keep it in my gym bag, and literally as soon as I finish training in the gym, I put 1 scoop in a shaker, shake it a few times, it's it's mixed, and I pound it. That'll cost me like 35 quid. So if you compare the cost of that to my isolate, it's a lot more expensive, but it's worth it because it's pre-digested, it's peptided whey protein. Your body just simply goes, thank you very much, we'll take that and we know what to do with it. So you've obviously have to weigh up the ratio of what's more important to you. Of course, you don't want to break the bank with any protein powder, but at the same time, it's better to pay a little bit more and get a better quality protein. If you want a straight answer, if you were to say to me, Dan, cut through the bullshit, I want the best quality protein with the best tasting, the best digesting, there's something that's not going to break the bank, every time it's going to be an isolate. Now, there's a lot of brands out there, the kind of corner of the market with protein powders, the ones that do really well. What they tend to do is they'll do a blended protein powder. So what they will do is they'll stick a combination of milk, concentrate and isolate in there. Okay, so that way they'll market it to you as it's got slow, medium and fast digesting proteins. There is an element of truth to that, but it's more so they can make the product taste very nice because they've got the milk powder in there. They can bump the protein content up on the label because of the concentrate, but also they've got isolate in there because it catches the eye of the consumer. So if you're looking for a good blend, there's a brand called USN. They do a product called Blue Lab Whey. If you're not if you're not in a dieting phase, you're not worried about, you know, extra carbohydrates in your protein. I mean, we're only talking like maybe 5 or 6 grams per serving, which is nothing in the grand scheme of things. They do a product called Blue Lab Whey. They've got about 8 or 9 flavors. The flavors are insanely good. It mixes easily. I think you'll pay like maybe 35 quid for a 2 kilo tub, which is really good value for money. There's another brand called Rule One, a US brand, Rule One Proteins. I'm using their one now. They do the same thing. They have a blend of isolate and concentrate in there, so they don't have the milk, but it's really good value for money. I think it's like 40 quid for maybe a 2.5 kilo tub. So, you know, as long as you're aware of these things, you can make an informed decision.